Orbiting in the pitch black of Saturn is a terrifying cosmic deception. From a distance, Enceladus is a barren wasteland of solid ice, trapped near absolute zero at a punishing -201 degrees Celsius. It appears as a perfectly silent, frozen tomb. But that silence is a lie. Ripping through the thick crust with raw, unrelenting physical force, immense geysers are violently erupting into the vacuum, blasting hundreds of kilograms of water and organic material every single second at speeds exceeding 1,000 kilometers per hour. We thought we were looking at a dead world, but what Cassini saw piercing through the darkness of space changes everything we thought we knew about the origins of life. In the early 1980s, the twin Voyager spacecraft hurtled through the freezing darkness of the outer solar system, executing their historic flybys to capture humanity's first detailed glimpses of the Saturnian system. Among the massive trove of telemetry and imagery beamed back across the void, one specific celestial body stood out by completely defying planetary expectations. Enceladus did not look like a standard moon. It looked like a brilliant anomaly. In a universe governed by chaotic and destructive collisions, this tiny world appeared flawlessly, almost artificially smooth. The optical instruments aboard the probes recorded an astonishing physical reality. The data definitively revealed that its surface reflects nearly 100% of the sunlight that strikes it, making it arguably the brightest and most reflective object ever observed within our entire celestial neighborhood. To truly understand the sheer impossibility of this optical perfection, one must confront the violent and unforgiving reality of deep space. The solar system is a relentless, chaotic shooting gallery. Every planet, moon, and wandering asteroid is constantly bombarded by high-velocity cosmic debris, micrometeoroids, and massive comets. A typical celestial body locked in orbit around a massive gas giant is fundamentally destined to bear the brutal, permanent scars of these impacts over billions of years. By all known geological laws, the outer crust of Enceladus should be violently pulverized. It should feature a wall of craters stacked on top of craters, creating a jagged and chaotic landscape. A dead planetary body is always a scarred body, serving as a permanent geological graveyard that records the entire history of deep space impacts. Yet, the Voyager photographs displayed vast, uninterrupted expanses of pristine, unbroken ice plains. The imagery confirmed massive geographical regions, completely devoid of any significant impact craters. In the strict science of planetary geology, a perfectly smooth surface is a glaring red flag. It provides absolute proof that the moon is actively erasing its own violent history. The physical mechanics required to wipe away massive impact craters dictate that the outer crust is not a static, dead layer of frozen rock. Instead, it is highly dynamic, shifting, and constantly resurfacing itself through intense internal geological processes. Something deep beneath that blindingly white, icy shell was generating enough raw thermal energy to melt and refreeze the surface repeatedly. This mysterious engine was systematically burying the definitive evidence of cosmic bombardments under fresh, pristine layers of smooth ice. I gotta be honest with you, looking at those early Voyager photos, it's unsettling how quiet it looks. But the universe is rarely quiet. The complete absence of surface destruction was the loudest possible signal Enceladus could have ever sent to the scientific community. It meant the moon was geologically alive, and the smooth ice was merely a perfect optical illusion hiding an active interior. But what no one expected was the true nature of this erasing mechanism. In the year 2005, humanity achieved a monumental milestone in planetary exploration when the Cassini spacecraft successfully inserted itself into orbit around Saturn. The probe was a massive, highly sophisticated piece of engineering, meticulously designed to map the ringed planet and its surrounding celestial satellites. However, As the optical and thermal instruments turned their primary focus toward the extreme southern hemisphere of Enceladus, the entire trajectory of the mission fundamentally changed. The onboard sensors detected something completely defying the established laws of thermodynamics for an ice world situated that deeply in the outer solar system. Slicing across the southern pole were 4 massive, parallel tectonic fractures deeply scarred into the crust. Scientists designated these massive planetary fissures the tiger stripes. What truly shocked the scientific community was the infrared data bleeding directly from these deep canyons. They were glowing with intense, localized thermal energy. The temperature inside these dark trenches was drastically higher than the surrounding frozen wasteland. Enceladus was actively bleeding heat from its core into the freezing void. The thermal anomaly was just the prelude to a far more violent physical reality. The cameras aboard the Cassini probe captured colossal, towering jets of material erupting directly from the glowing fractures of the tiger stripes. Initially, standard planetary models suggested these might be simple vapor emissions or thin clouds of frozen gas escaping the crust. But the raw data quickly obliterated those early theories. The telemetry confirmed an absolute truth. This was not mere gas. It was water. A staggering volume of 250 kilograms of pure water and solid ice particles was being forcefully ejected every single second. The internal pressure building beneath the ice was so immense that it was actively tearing the liquid away from the moon, ripping it straight out into the vacuum of outer space. To truly comprehend the exact chemical composition of this erupting material, the space agency executed one of the most aggressive and dangerous orbital maneuvers in the history of spaceflight. They commanded the Cassini probe to alter its safe trajectory and plunge directly through the center of the violent plumes. This was a death-defying dive. The spacecraft tore through the towering geysers at a staggering velocity of 64,000 kilometers per hour. At this extreme speed, even a tiny fragment of solid ice could critically damage the fragile instruments or destroy the probe entirely. Yet, it was a necessary risk. As Cassini pierced the violent jets, its onboard mass spectrometer acted like a mechanical tongue, physically tasting the erupting material. The instruments captured the water molecules, forcefully shattering them to analyze their fundamental atomic structure. The data proved unequivocally that a boiling ocean was hiding just beneath the ice. To truly understand how a vast liquid body can exist so incredibly far from the vital warmth of the sun, planetary scientists meticulously analyzed thousands of high-resolution photographs captured by the Cassini spacecraft over a period of 7 grueling years. They were not just looking at the surface features, they were specifically tracking the precise orbital mechanics of Enceladus, searching for microscopic variations in its physical movement. By monitoring specific geological landmarks on the icy crust, researchers discovered a subtle, rhythmic physical shift in the planetary rotation, a precise mechanical wobble scientifically classified as libration. The moon was physically rocking back and forth as it orbited. In the strict, rigid mechanics of planetary physics, a completely solid celestial body, where the outer crust is permanently fused to the rocky interior, fundamentally cannot wobble in this extreme, exaggerated manner. The mathematical models of this structural data pointed to only one terrifyingly clear and inescapable conclusion. The thick outer shell of solid ice was entirely detached from the inner rocky core. Separating the dead ice from the deep rock was a massive, planetary-scale global ocean, plunging down tens of kilometers into the dark, unseen interior of the moon. This monumental revelation immediately presented a massive thermodynamic paradox for the scientific community. Enceladus orbits in a bleak, distant region of the solar system, where the ambient space temperatures are brutally cold. Yet the deep water trapped beneath the ice remains in a permanent, active liquid state. The extreme heat required to prevent this deep global ocean from freezing entirely solid does not come from the faint, distant sun, nor does it originate from standard radioactive decay within the planet. The heat is generated by a far more violent, relentless cosmic mechanism known as tidal heating. Enceladus is permanently locked in an eccentric elliptical orbit around its massive parent body, Saturn. As the tiny moon moves closer and then further away during its constant orbital path, it is relentlessly crushed by gravity. The immense, unforgiving gravitational pull of the gas giant acts like a planetary scale vice, physically squeezing, stretching, and violently warping the entire moon. This relentless mechanical distortion generates catastrophic levels of internal friction deep within the silicate rock at the center of the world. The deep rock is constantly grinding against itself under immense pressure. It is a tortured core, generating massive amounts of raw thermal energy through sheer, uninterrupted physical trauma. Far below the blinding white surface, deep beneath the tens of kilometers of freezing pressurized water, at the very bottom of this alien sea, lies a lightless, boiling abyss. In this severe realm of absolute, impenetrable darkness and crushing hydrostatic pressure, the cold ocean water physically seeps down into the deep, porous fractures of the superheated silicate rock. As the liquid ocean penetrates the glowing hot, fractured interior of the tortured core, it is instantly subjected to extreme thermal violence. The water is brutally superheated to hundreds of degrees Celsius. The resulting intense physical pressure forces the boiling, highly reactive, mineral-rich fluid to violently surge back upward, blasting out of the jagged seabed and violently colliding with the freezing, crushing weight of the ocean above. These active geological structures are scientifically classified as hydrothermal vents. They are towering, violent chimneys of jagged rock, continuously spewing dark, scalding chemical compounds directly into the pitch-black ocean water. This alien, deep-sea environment is completely severed from the surface world. It receives absolutely zero sunlight. It is a suffocating, hyper-pressurized, extremely toxic underworld that has remained completely undisturbed for billions of years. The sheer, terrifying violence of the tortured rock continuously clashing with the crushing weight of the deep ocean creates a permanent, churning cauldron of extreme geological chemistry. It is a deeply unsettling physical reality to confront. Beneath the pristine, perfectly silent reflective white armor of the frozen crust, the very core of the moon is physically tearing itself apart in the dark, bleeding extreme heat and complex, fundamental minerals directly into a hostile, lightless sea. This is where the story takes a cosmic turn, because we've seen this exact environment before. To fully grasp the massive biological magnitude of this planetary discovery, we must look inward, deep into the treacherous, crushing depths of our own world. Hidden deep beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean lies an extreme, lightless geological environment known to marine biologists as the Lost City Hydrothermal Field. This hostile deep-sea formation consists of towering, jagged mineral chimneys expelling superheated, highly alkaline fluids directly into the freezing abyss. In this alien environment on Earth, entirely severed from the life-giving energy of the sun, life does not simply endure. It fiercely thrives. Microscopic organisms power their entire biological existence through a brutal chemical process called chemosynthesis, consuming raw minerals expelled from the planetary crust. Astrobiologists strongly theorize that in violent, lightless cauldrons exactly like the Lost City, the very first single-celled organisms on Earth were forcefully forged into existence. The boiling abyss at the bottom of Enceladus is not merely a theoretical comparison. It is a direct, active physical replica of the exact environment that birthed primitive life on our home world. Planetary scientists did not rely on mere orbital speculation. They required indisputable hard physical telemetry to confirm this reality. The Cassini spacecraft provided exactly that. According to official NASA data published in Science, as the probe violently tore through the massive plumes ejecting from the southern pole, its onboard cosmic dust analyzer captured something profoundly specific. The sophisticated instruments definitively isolated microscopic grains of silica. In the rigid, unforgiving laws of planetary geochemistry, these specific nanosilica particles can only be manufactured under one incredibly precise set of physical conditions. They are exclusively forged when boiling. Mineral-rich water, reaching temperatures well over 90 degrees Celsius, erupts from a fractured rocky core and instantly collides with freezing ocean water. This physical telemetry was the definitive, undeniable proof that active, violently boiling hydrothermal vents are currently operating on the alien seafloor. But the scientific tension reached its absolute peak when the mass spectrometer analyzed the volatile chemical compounds mixed within those towering plumes. The orbital sensors detected a massive, overwhelming concentration of molecular hydrogen gas erupting straight from the deep planetary core. In the harsh, unforgiving reality of deep-sea biology, molecular hydrogen is far more than a simple chemical byproduct. It is the fundamental, raw biological fuel required for extreme survival. It is the exact chemical calorie that primitive, single-celled microbes aggressively consume to stay alive in the total absence of sunlight. The brutal, unvarnished truth of this data is staggering. The fractured, tortured core of this tiny frozen moon is actively functioning as a fully operational, planetary-scale biological engine. It is relentlessly pumping out massive, uninterrupted reserves of raw thermal energy and the precise chemical food necessary to sustain a living, breathing alien ecosystem. The complex geological machinery required to support extraterrestrial microbes is not dormant. It is fully active, churning violently right now beneath the crushing weight of the ice. Every answer opens three more questions. We had the water, we had the heat, but we were missing one terrifyingly specific ingredient. For decades, the complete biological potential of this frozen moon remained locked behind a missing chemical component. However, in the year 2023, the most sophisticated optical instrument ever constructed by humanity fundamentally altered our understanding of the Saturnian system. The James Webb Space Telescope turned its massive, gold-plated mirrors toward Enceladus, peering through the deep, cosmic dark with its revolutionary infrared sensors. The telemetry beamed back to Earth was absolutely staggering, shattering all previous mathematical models regarding the sheer volume of the eruption. The telescope captured a colossal, continuous torrent of water vapor violently blasting out from the southern pole. This single, massive plume extended a staggering 9,600 kilometers into the freezing vacuum of space. To put that terrifying scale into strict physical perspective, that jet of superheated water is roughly 20 times the entire physical diameter of the moon itself. It is a planetary-scale water cannon, firing with such relentless kinetic force that it is actively feeding an entire planetary ring. The data definitively proved that the water ejected from this tiny moon directly creates and maintains the massive, diffuse E-ring of Saturn. The moon is literally bleeding its own ocean into orbit. As this superheated ocean water erupts into the absolute zero temperature of the surrounding void, it instantly flash freezes into microscopic ice grains. These tiny, frozen time capsules carry the exact chemical signature of the dark, boiling abyss hidden tens of kilometers below the crust. For years, planetary chemists meticulously reanalyzed the archival data collected from these specific ice grains trapped within the E-ring. They were desperately hunting for one extremely elusive chemical signature. In the rigid science of astrobiology, there are 6 fundamental elements absolutely mandated for the creation of biological organisms: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. The Cassini mission had already confirmed the presence of the first 5, but the 6th element, phosphorus, remained completely undetected. Phosphorus is the ultimate biological bottleneck. It is the critical structural backbone of the double helix in deoxyribonucleic acid. It forms the protective membranes of every single living cell, and it acts as the primary chemical energy currency that powers all biological movement and cellular division. Without phosphorus, The complex chemical machinery of life is physically impossible to construct. The tension within the scientific community finally broke with a historic, paradigm-shifting breakthrough. By applying advanced, modern analytical techniques to the cosmic dust analyzer data, researchers unequivocally detected the unmistakable signature of sodium phosphates locked deep within the frozen ocean spray. The missing ingredient had finally been found. Furthermore, the chemical models indicated that the concentration of this crucial element in the dark ocean of Enceladus is actually hundreds, perhaps thousands of times higher than the concentrations found in the oceans of Earth. The hydrothermal vents at the bottom of that alien sea are actively churning out massive quantities of highly reactive, bioavailable phosphorus directly into the water column. The profound magnitude of this discovery cannot be overstated. It represents the absolute climax in our modern search for extraterrestrial biology. Enceladus is no longer just an interesting geological anomaly. It has been elevated to the most critical target in the solar system. It stands alone as the only confirmed celestial body beyond our home planet that possesses every single fundamental chemical ingredient required to physically assemble the genetic code. The dark, pressurized ocean contains the liquid solvent. The hydrothermal vents provide the endless thermal energy, and the water is saturated with the complete chemical alphabet necessary to write the biological software of life. We are looking at a fully operational, planetary-scale biological reactor, hidden in the darkest, coldest region of our planetary neighborhood. What struck me the most wasn't just the scale of that plume. It's the realization that out there, in the pitch black, the universe has already assembled all the Lego blocks for life. The discovery of the ultimate biological building blocks has triggered a massive, paradigm-shifting evolution in planetary engineering. Orbital observation is no longer sufficient. The scientific mandate now requires direct, physical contact with the subsurface ocean. To answer this call, researchers at the German Aerospace Center are actively developing a radical, highly ambitious conceptual mission designated as the Enceladus Explorer. Standard surface rovers and traditional mechanical drills are completely useless against a planetary crust of this immense magnitude. To reach the boiling abyss, humanity must deploy a technology capable of physically piercing the frozen armor of the Moon. The proposed mission architecture revolves around a specialized, autonomous subsurface navigation system commonly referred to as the ice mole. This vehicle is not a conventional drill that mechanically grinds through rock. Instead, the ice mole is meticulously designed to harness the immense, sustained thermal energy generated by a compact, onboard nuclear reactor. By precisely directing this localized nuclear heat to its forward hull, the cylindrical probe will slowly and relentlessly melt its way downward through tens of kilometers of solid, sub-zero ice. As it descends deeper into the planetary crust, the melted water will instantly freeze solid behind it, permanently sealing the nuclear probe inside the icy shell. The journey will take years of agonizingly slow, autonomous navigation, in total darkness. Once it finally breaches the boundary between the ice and the water at the bottom of the crust, the ice mole will deploy a highly advanced, untethered submersible robot directly into the uncharted alien ocean. This robotic diver will navigate the crushing pressures and physically hunt for living, extraterrestrial microbes near the active hydrothermal vents. However, this unprecedented engineering endeavor brings humanity to a terrifying scientific precipice. The greatest existential threat to potential life on this frozen moon is not the freezing ambient temperature, nor the crushing gravity of the massive gas giant above. The greatest threat is us. Planetary protection protocols define this catastrophic biological risk as forward contamination. Despite the most rigorous, extreme sterilization procedures conducted in high-technology cleanrooms on our home planet, microscopic terrestrial extremophiles are incredibly resilient. It remains a mathematical probability that a microscopic fraction of Earth-borne bacteria will survive the launch, endure the harsh radiation of deep space, and ride the ice mole directly into that pristine sea. If terrestrial extremophiles are inadvertently introduced into a habitable, nutrient-rich alien ocean, the biological consequences could be devastating and irreversible. Earth microbes, hardened by billions of years of ruthless evolutionary competition, could rapidly multiply and instantly become an invasive species on a planetary scale. They possess the biological capacity to outcompete, consume, or completely eradicate a fragile, embryonic alien ecosystem that has been developing in absolute isolation for eons. We risk inadvertently causing an extraterrestrial mass extinction event on the exact same day we discover that we are not alone in the universe. The horrifying truth is, we are standing at the edge of a pristine biological timeline, and opening that door means we can never close it. The brutal reality of the hidden ocean inside Enceladus fundamentally rewrites the biological rules of existence. For centuries, humanity operated under the strict scientific assumption that complex biology required the brilliant, radiating energy of a nearby star. But the boiling abyss at the bottom of this frozen moon teaches us a profound truth. Life does not require the bright light of a sun. It merely requires continuous thermal and chemical motion. The relentless physical friction of a tortured planetary core is entirely sufficient to sustain an active ecosystem in complete, absolute darkness. The universe isn't broken, and it isn't empty. Our map of it is just incomplete. Under a shell of dead ice, a boiling ocean is screaming into the void, waiting to be found. What do you think? Does discovering a boiling ocean in the deepest freeze of space change how you see our place in the cosmos? I'll keep exploring if there's more to uncover. Thanks for watching.